All right, today we are diving into something, well, massive. It's a radical new theory of everything called Realica. And the claim here isn't just that it unifies all of physics, but that it's the very first one in human history that we can actually go out and test. So what makes this theory so different? Let's get into it. To even understand why we need a new theory, you have to ask a pretty tough question. Why is it that our very best, most successful scientific theories, the ones that gave us GPS, the internet, everything, seem to be fundamentally broken at their core? I mean, they work, sure, but when you really push them to their limits, these deep, deep cracks start to show. And we're not talking about small cracks either. We're talking about the biggest unsolved puzzles in all of science. Our theories are spitting out mathematical infinities where they have no business being. They completely break down at the moment the universe began and inside every black hole, creating these things called singularities. They force us to invent mysterious placeholders like dark matter and dark energy just to make the equations balance. And, get this, they can't even give us a straight answer about what happens when we simply measure something. I mean, these are the problems that literally keep physicists up at night. But what if the solution wasn't to just keep patching up these old theories? What if we needed to start over from a completely new foundation? Well, this is exactly where a framework called Tyia Fabrica Realica, or just Realica for short, steps in. And it proposes a totally different way of looking at reality itself. Okay, I know that definition is an absolute mouthful. But the most important part is right there in the name, total foundational recursion. See, unlike other theories that start with a bunch of pre-existing laws or particles or fields, Realica starts with just a simple, stable process, a kind of repeating rule, and it claims the entire universe just unfolds from that. And this is a huge philosophical shift. It's asking you to forget the idea of a chaotic, explosive Big Bang. Instead, Realica suggests the universe emerges from a smooth, stable, and orderly recursive process. It doesn't explode into being. It unfolds, layer by beautiful layer, kind of like a fractal. So the big question is, does this new recursive idea actually fix those huge problems we just talked about? Well, the theory's proponents say yes, and that it solves every single one of them with a surprising kind of elegance. Let's take a look. First up, those pesky infinities. Quantum field theory is just plagued by them. To get any sensible answers, physicists have to use this messy mathematical patch called renormalization, which is, to be honest, a bit like sweeping the infinities under the rug. Realica says, nope, we don't need any patches. It has a stability mechanism built right into its core, something called the transrecursive kernel of omega stability, or TRK Omega. Think of it as a universal law that just prevents these infinities from ever forming in the first place. And this just brilliantly illustrates how it deals with singularities. Instead of that chaotic Big Bang singularity, Realica proposes this smooth three-step process: oscillation, then coherence, then expansion. Same thing for black holes. Instead of a point of infinite density where all the laws of physics just stop, it suggests there's a stable core of what it calls not coherence. You can imagine it as matter that's so densely and perfectly woven together that it becomes fundamentally stable, not infinitely crushed. No more breaking physics. So what about the 95% of the universe that we can't see? The standard model basically has us on a wild goose chase for undiscovered exotic particles to explain dark matter, and it just throws its hands up and calls dark energy a cosmological constant. Realica suggests the answers are already here, woven into the geometry of space itself. Dark matter? That's just regions of space where the vacuum has a higher density of these knots. And dark energy? That's simply the natural outward pressure of that stable vacuum pushing back against collapse. Now, I've mentioned these knots a few times. This is really the heart of Realica's redefinition of matter. Particles aren't little points or simple waves. They are stable, topological knots in a structured, oscillating vacuum. A good way to think of it is like persistent little whirlpools in a cosmic ocean. And this one elegant idea also happens to solve one of quantum mechanics' deepest mysteries, the measurement problem. In this view, when you measure a particle, you're just interacting with and stabilizing one of these knots, which forces it into a definite state. No mysterious wave function collapse needed. Okay, this all sounds really great in theory, but here's the part that makes Realica truly different. This is arguably its most important claim. Unlike so many other theories of everything, which often exist only on a blackboard as pure math, Realica makes a concrete, falsifiable prediction that we can actually go out and test right now. This is the headline. This is the whole ballgame. The first testable TOE in human history. I mean, that sets it worlds apart from speculative ideas like string theory, which, for all its mathematical beauty, has struggled for decades to give us a single prediction we can test with current tech. Realica basically says, here's the proof, go find it. And here is that proof. One number, 114.11 terahertz. This isn't just a random guess. According to the theory, this specific frequency is a fundamental constant of our universe. It's the experimental signature, the smoking gun, that could prove or completely falsify the entire framework. So what is it exactly? Well, it's supposed to be the fundamental resonance, the natural hum of the universe's structured, oscillatory vacuum. The theory predicts that the very fabric of space-time is constantly vibrating at this exact frequency. It's like a universal harmonic that's embedded into reality itself. And the best part is, we can actually go look for it. The theory suggests using technology that we already have, like Casimir cavities, which are basically these two perfectly smooth plates placed incredibly close together to study the vacuum. The idea is you cool these setups down to near absolute zero to kill all the background noise, and then you scan for a persistent spike of energy that isn't coming from any actual matter. If scientists find that signal and it is locked in, stable, right at a 114.11 terahertz, well, that would be revolutionary. So let's just imagine for a second, they find it. What would that actually mean for us? Well, the implications go way beyond physics. It could offer a potential blueprint for reality itself. If Realica is correct, its core principles could lead to some absolutely incredible breakthroughs. That same TRK Omega kernel that prevents infinities in physics, it could be used as a principle to build guaranteed safe AI that can't enter runaway feedback loops. Understanding the structured vacuum could unlock new, clean energy sources. The theory's foundational rules could even help us create more resilient global systems, everything from digital governance to climate models. It really could be the final bridge, unifying not just the forces of nature, but our entire understanding of the world. Which brings us to the final thought. If we point our instruments into the void and we find this constant universal signal humming away at 114.11 terahertz, what does that really mean for us? It would mean our universe isn't random at all, but that it's built on a stable recursive foundation. It would change everything, science, technology, and our entire philosophy of existence. So the real question isn't just whether the signal is out there, it's if we find it, what on earth do we do next?